YouTube. Today I wanted to do another money saving video. Financially, times have become quite difficult in this country for the average person who's just living paycheck to paycheck, and which I'm still in that category, I will admit, and I have paid off my debt, but I'm certainly not but I certainly do not have like a large sum of money sitting in my bank account. Instead of paying off debt, I'm on the journey to build up my savings to have as an emergency fund. Unfortunately, the timing is such that I feel like it's becoming more difficult to set aside money due to the rising cost of gas, food, and basically everything that we're purchasing has gone up in price. There are some things that I feel like are still bargains or still good prices for things, but definitely things have increased in prices. Some of these tips might have been mentioned throughout my video, but I want to kind of go through and do a comprehensive list of a lot of the tips that I'm using to save money. The first one that I want to bring up, we can no longer just go out and purchase things. We have to, there's always, people have always said through the centuries that you need to prepare for bad times, and you don't know when that bad times comes. Now, for some people, if you're financially in a good place, this is not a bad time. But if you are a person who's living paycheck to paycheck, it's becoming increasingly more difficult, especially due to the rising cost of fuel. That has become very, very difficult. But unfortunately, bad times don't tell you when they're coming, and you have to be prepared for them. This is another reason that we need to always be living in a way that we're setting aside money for the future while we're living our life. We can't just say the future will take care of itself. We do have to think about the future. I'm a Christian, and I do believe that God will provide for my needs, but I also feel that I should, He's given me the means to, set aside money for the future, to pay off my debt, which took me quite a long time. It took me almost 3 years to pay off my debt, but I was able to do it, and now like I said, I'm on the journey to setting aside money and having a decent savings account so that I can hopefully meet any future problems that arise. The first thing that I really wanted to mention is that we need to not go out and just purchase things that we were purchasing. We need to start thinking about things that we're purchasing. A lot of people shop through the grocery store. They just go in, they purchase a bunch of stuff and say, I think I'll have spaghetti this week. I think I'll make meatloaf this week. They don't have a plan for their money, and unfortunately, it is a statistic, and it's true that 30 to 40% of the food purchased by the average American is thrown in the trash. So we really need to stop and think about the things we're putting in our cart. I feel like if everyone thought about the fact that we could save 30 to 40% of our grocery budget, so if you were spending $100 a week and you could set aside and only spend $60 a week, I think that would make a huge impact in most people's lives. But people don't think about it that way. They just go out, they spend the same $100, $150. They're not thinking about it. So we need to stop and think about what we're purchasing, what we're putting in our carts, and saying, am I really going to make this item? We all live very busy lives, and sometimes we spend our times, things come up during the week and we don't end up cooking what we planned on cooking. But we definitely need to be more thoughtful about the things that we're purchasing, make a plan. And unfortunately, most people don't like planning their dinners, but I feel like there's really no other way of doing this. Or be really mindful of what you buy. And if you're buying a lot of fresh produce, then that has to be used up. You can't waste that fresh produce. The meats and a lot of the other items can carry on to another week, but the fresh produce in a lot of cases cannot. Another thing that I do is that I limit my use of paper products. I do have paper towels in my home, but I do not put them on my counter. I noticed that when I had them on my counter, they got used. So I normally do not put paper towels on my counter. Now, I do use paper towels, but I use them very sparingly. I keep them only for certain messy cleanup jobs that I don't want to use my normal kitchen rag for, like maybe cleaning up after I've cut up meat or something. I also do not use paper plates on a normal basis. I use my kitchen plates. I wash the kitchen plates. I do have paper plates for maybe if we're going on a trip or something, but I do not take out paper goods because that's not I already own dishes. I don't need to go out for convenience sake. I understand we're, all trying to live our life in such a way to make it convenient, and believe me, I'm tempted sometimes to just take out the paper plates. But when there's a difference between saving money and convenience. And you have to kind of decide which one is more important to you. And I've decided that saving money is my is more of a goal to me than convenient. The third thing that I do is line dry my clothes. I'm very excited that the warm weather is slowly arriving. It hasn't arrived quite yet where I am, but I'm looking forward to not running my dryer. Everything I've read, the dryer uses up the most, is the appliance that uses the most electricity in the house. So I'm very excited to be able to put my clothes out on the line and then have them dry. The only thing that I do pop in the dryer for a little while is towels, because if you line dry them, they become really rough. So I do throw them in the dryer for about 10 minutes or 5 minutes, and then I put them out on the line, and they're generally fine after that. Also, I do have a clothesline in my basement. I've just run a line in the rafters, and I do during the winter months put clothes out there. I have a drying rack that I use for like small items, but then I also have this clothesline, and I just put things on the clothesline and don't try to use my dryer. I try to use my dryer as little as possible to save electricity. The next thing that I do is keep the temperature low in my house. I'm a naturally very cold person. I get cold very easily, so it's really hard for me to do that. But a lot of the ways that I save money on the heat is by controlling the temperature at night. I do have a programmable thermostat. I actually got that free from my utility company. They have a thing that you can sign up for where you have them control your air conditioning during the summer, and they only do that periodically, where they have like a day that they're expecting a lot of heat, so they will cycle your air conditioning off and on. They're not turning it off, they're just cycling it, and you can basically ask them to cycle only 25%, 50%, 75%, and they will cycle based on what you tell them. But because I signed up for this plan, they gave me a free thermostat, and they actually came and installed the thermostat, so that was very nice, and it's programmable, so I can program it to drop the temperature while I'm sleeping. So if you go to bed at 10 o'clock, you can say drop the temperature around 11 o'clock, and if you wake up at 6 o'clock, maybe you lower it only from 11 o'clock to 5 o'clock, so you don't have to feel the impact of that during the day, you're just feeling it at night. And obviously if you're someone that doesn't work at home, then you could do it during the day also. So that's a great way of saving on the heat in your house, or even the air conditioning in your home. Another way that I save money is by growing my own vegetables and herbs. I'm very lucky because gardening is my hobby. I will be actually doing videos soon on my garden because it's now finally time to start planting things. I've actually put some stuff in the ground already, but these are things that I feel like I'm trying to grow things that are going to be useful for me, and I'm trying to grow them in large enough quantity that maybe I can preserve them for the future. So I recently planted a whole bunch of onions, and about 2 years ago I had planted onions. Last year I did not have a lot of success with them because I pretty much neglected my garden last year, but the year before I planted a lot of onions, and for months I had onions and didn't have to purchase any. So I recently planted a bunch of onions, and my plan is to grow as many as I can. I will use them until they start showing signs that they're going bad or something, and at that point I will chop them up and freeze them. So I hope to have maybe a year's worth of onions if I can manage. I'm not quite sure that that's going to happen, but I'm certainly aiming for that goal. But I feel like if you can grow things that, instead of just growing for fun, you need to grow things that are actually going to be useful for you. As we've seen through the grocery store, there's a lot of shortages on things, and things are not always available. I went to the grocery store last week, and for some odd reason there was no celery, so I actually did take out my celery seeds today, and I thought, I'm going to grow some celery. It's not something I use a ton of, but I would like to have it, and if it's growing in my garden, I can just go and pick what I need that time and use that, and not have to go and buy a whole thing of celery. So I'm trying to be mindful about what things I buy, and those are the things that I want to grow in my garden. Another thing that I do is wash my clothes with cold water. I have not noticed any difference on washing on hot water or cold water. I do also measure out my detergent. I use a 1/4 cup. I just picked up measuring cups from the dollar store, and I fill the 1/4 cup up with detergent. I don't use the measuring cup on the detergent bottle because I feel like it calls for way more detergent that's needed. I actually think I could use less than 1/4 of a cup, but I don't have a measuring cup for less than 1/4 yet, and I plan on getting like a 1/8 of a cup measuring cup and trying to do my laundry on that. But so far I've been using a 1/4 cup, and I just put the laundry detergent in there, throw it into the washing machine, and the cup comes out clean. I use all that detergent. I have not noticed any difference by using cold water and then also using less detergent. Another thing that I do is I recycle a lot. This might seem like a weird tip, but I feel like money is saved penny by penny, 5 cents at a time, 10 cents at a time. Long time ago when our county started recycling, I was just recycling because, they had sent me a recycling bin, and I thought, well, I'll recycle because they, sent me this nice bin and I'll start doing it. But then later on I thought the more I recycle, the less trash that I make and the less bags that I use. So not only is this good for the environment, it's actually good for my budget. I use a lot less trash bags. I used to use so many more trash bags when I had the big bulky cans and boxes, and now I use a lot less because I'm recycling all of those items. So I don't put anything into the trash that can be recycled. I feel like it's a double win for the environment and for my budget. My next tip is to buy used when possible. I love going to the Goodwill. I actually was never a Goodwill shopper. I actually had a coworker at my previous job, and a couple times she came in with some really nice outfits, and I was like, I love your outfit. And she was like, I bought it at the Goodwill. And I thought, wow, I've never even shopped at the Goodwill. If clothes are not your thing, there are definitely other things that you can buy there. I actually bought a beautiful Ethan Allen dresser that had literally one tiny little mark on it, and I bought it for $50. It's in perfect condition. I probably have that Ethan Allen dresser till the day I die because I couldn't afford anything from Ethan Allen. But that dresser was $50, and the minute I saw it at the Goodwill, I told the guy that was there, I'm buying this dresser. I didn't want anyone else to see it because I was shocked when I opened the drawers and saw the Ethan Allen name in there. So it's amazing how many good things you can pick up. There's lots of books. There are a lot of kitchen items. I pick up a lot of canning jars because I am into canning, so I'll go there and pick up canning jars. And there are clothes actually that have the tags on them, so that puts you off. There are things there that have tags on them. A lot of stuff from Target is also sold at the Goodwill. I'm not sure how it works, but I've seen a lot of Target items. It's funny because they had these little fairy lights at Christmas time at Target, and I really wanted them, but being that I was trying to live on a budget, they were $3, and I was like, I'm not buying these. I mean, they're something I want, but they're certainly not something I need. So I put them back. I didn't take them. And then about 2 months later, after Christmas, I was at the Goodwill, and they had those same lights for 33 cents a box, new in the box. So I picked them up. I picked up 3 or 4 packs of them, and I was so excited because one would have cost me $3. So it's amazing what you can find at the Goodwill. So sometimes it's just nice to go there and look around. Now, at the same time, I will say it's not a good idea to just shop if you have no need. But if you are looking for something, that's definitely a place to look for. I don't suggest that you go and shop for fun because obviously we're trying to save money. So if you have a need for an item, then I would suggest looking there. Also, a lot of people are not aware, but Goodwill has an online store, and they sell maybe higher priced items. And it's a bidding system. It's like going on to eBay or something, and they have sewing machines. They have all sorts of things that they consider higher end items, and you can get a really good deal on that. You just have to be mindful because they charge for shipping, so you have to look at where the item is and how much they will charge. But you really can get a good deal on some higher end items that you wouldn't expect to find at the Goodwill. My next suggestion is to shop for open box items. I actually started doing this at Best Buy. I have bought probably most of my appliances from Best Buy. I'm not a huge Best Buy shopper, but if I need an appliance, I'm probably going to head over to Best Buy. I ended up getting a stand-up freezer from them one time that was an open box. Actually, the current refrigerator I have right now was one that they were still selling at the store when I purchased it. It was like $2,600 or $2,700, and I purchased this as an open box for $1,200. It's an excellent refrigerator. I absolutely love it. On a side note, it's a Whirlpool, and I am a big fan of Whirlpool. I've just had really good experience with their products. I bought GE in the past and just not have had good experience, but Whirlpool is just one of my favorite brands. I feel like their products last. So my refrigerator is a Whirlpool refrigerator, and I absolutely love it, and I only paid $1,200 because it was an open box. So if you need an appliance before you run over to run over to wherever you normally purchase your appliances, definitely look at open box items. When you go to Best Buy's website, you can search for open box items. And also, I have mentioned in one of my videos about Amazon, they also sell things which is basically an open box. They have items that are returned to them, and they cannot sell those, or I don't know why they can't sell them, but they basically, when an item has been returned to Amazon, they sell it for a cheaper price, and they usually write in the description, like when you're searching, you'll see it'll say also available for like a lower price, and if you click on that, some of those are through other sellers and some of those are actually through Amazon warehouse. If you purchase through the Amazon warehouse, you can get the same item for a lot less money. Now you'll have to read the fine print because sometimes it says in original packaging, but packaging may be damaged. Or it'll tell you that there's a defect in the item. And depending on what it is, you can decide if you want an item with a defect or not. A lot of the times I purchase things, I'll look for the items that say they're in original packaging, but the packaging may be damaged. I have never had a problem with it. I bought a food processor, new in the box. I bought a collapsible wagon one time. They normally sell for $80. I paid $20 for it, new in the box. I've just purchased a lot of things from there. You just kind of keep looking. It's not available all the time, but people are returning things all day long. So you just keep looking for the item and eventually you can find it at a cheaper price. The next tip that I want to share is something that I actually struggle with myself, which is to not purchase something I already own. There are things out there that I see that are the newer model, maybe a nicer design, just the newest item that's out there for something I already own, and I'm really tempted going, wow, this thing does this, mine doesn't, do, or this is a prettier design than what I already own. And it is tempting to purchase those items, but if you're in debt, or if you're struggling for money, this is not where you want to spend your money. You already own the item. So I have to have a talk to myself, and it's really true on all of these tips. You kind of have a talk with yourself and say, what's more important to me, to get out of debt or to have the nicer new model of something? For example, the phone that I currently own and use is an iPhone 7. I don't know what number they're on like 12 or 13 or who knows what number they're on now, but I don't just go out and buy the newest cell phone because they're selling it. I actually keep using what I have until, I have problems with it. I had, I think it was iPhone 5 for the longest time until it started, I think it wouldn't even charge anymore. So I had to basically go out and purchase a new cell phone. But I do not just replace things because, a new model comes out. And I feel like an iPhone is one of those things, or a cell phone is one of those things where people are tempted to go and get the newest and the greatest. And I feel like my cell phone makes phone calls. My cell phone lets me go onto the internet. It lets me send texts. Those are the main important things that I use my cell phone for. As long as I can do those things, why do I go out and buy the new cell phone? So I don't purchase the newest one. Maybe it's not as fast as somebody else's, but my life doesn't depend on my internet speed while I'm out in a store somewhere trying to look up the price of something. So I feel like, it's tempting, but those are the moments that I have to stop myself and say, wait, you already own this item. If you want to spend your money, spend it on something that you don't own that you need, or pay down your debt with it, but don't go out and buy the same item. It just doesn't make any sense to keep spending money and upgrading the items that you have when you have bigger issues, which is also paying down your debt. The next tip is something I remember sharing on one of my videos, but I think it's worth repeating, is I had a car that lasted me to 309,000 miles. I was very good about taking care of my car, and I feel like car maintenance is one of those things that's very important. I don't understand when people go out and just purchase a new car because their car needs tires, their car needs a radiator. It just boggles my mind. I'm going, every car is going to eventually need maintenance. You're going to need new tires. I actually just put new tires on my car. I just put a new battery in my car. But I don't just go out and buy another car because my car needs $2,000 in repair. It depends on the car. I don't understand that mentality to go and replace things when these are normal maintenance on a car. So I was able to get 309,000 miles out of the car. It lasted me longer than anybody expected. I purchased it through CarMax, and even the CarMax mechanic told me, he was like, you know what? You got your money's worth. It's time to let go of the car. Because they were telling me that it needed a new engine and it's going to be like $6,000. So obviously I wasn't going to put $6,000 into a car that already had 309,000 miles on it. But I love that car. I kept it for a long time, and I was very good about doing the oil changes. And they actually told me my car stayed as long as it did because I did the normal routine maintenance. I did go to a mechanic I trusted, and I did make sure that the things were done. And I also remember what was done in my car. I actually had the dealership one time tell me that I had not put in a new timing belt? And I was like, no, I have. And they said, no, there's supposed to be a sticker on the timing belt and your car doesn't have a sticker. And I said, I don't know anything about the sticker, but my car got a new timing belt. Look in your records. And he looked in the records and he was like, you're right, you did get a timing belt. And he said, most people are totally oblivious to what's been done in their car. I don't keep written records of my car. I do keep receipts. I keep receipts of every expense that's associated with my car. Every time I get an oil change, I keep the receipts. I keep all of that in case there's a problem. But I definitely also mentally know what I've done in my car. And I'm certainly no mechanic, and I don't even claim to know much about cars except that they need oil changes. But I will make sure that the maintenance that's done on the car, that needs to be done on the car, is done on a timely basis. So that is definitely one thing. And kind of piggybacking on that is, I used to go to the dealership and if I had an issue and like I noticed that the car was making some noise or something, I would say, I think there's something wrong with, let's say, the radiator or something, some part that I thought was a problem. And they would tell me, well, we're going to charge you $129 for the diagnostic fee. And then I was like, that's, a lot of money for them to tell me what's wrong with my car. But then I also knew that whenever I took the car in for an oil change, I would say, give me that 27-point inspection that you do, which they did, as a free thing. So what I started doing is, when I knew that something was wrong with the car, I would take it to them. Along with the oil change, I was like, please give me that 27-point inspection. Whenever they did the 27-point inspection, they would always find the things that were wrong with the car. And I thought, why am I paying them $129 to diagnose something when they find it anyway? I feel like it's in their interest to find what's wrong with my car, and they generally always did. If for some chance they didn't find, like what was making the noise, like if I knew that it was a radiator or something, then I might consider paying them the $129. But I quickly realized that most of the time, 99% of the time, they found what was wrong with my car, and they checked it all over and would come back and say, oh, you need new brakes here, there, whatever. And then I would decide if I wanted to do those things. But I stopped paying for those diagnosis fees because I felt like that's $129 and that's just to look at it. And I mean, they did apply that to the repair, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to do the repair, what the repair was. And as my car was aging, I wasn't sure that I would do the repair at all because the car was getting that old. But eventually, like I said, I did make it to 309,000 miles, and it was well worth the money I spent and the 14 years that I owned it. My next tip is about canceling subscriptions. Let me start out by saying gym memberships are one of those subscriptions that I refer to. I actually worked in a gym for probably about a year part-time just to earn some extra money while I was paying off my debt. And I was shocked at how many people never came to the gym or came once a month. There were so many people that were paying for the gym that didn't show up, or they would show up once a week, once a month. They would show up like once a month and say, oh, I haven't been to the gym in a month. I didn't understand why they were paying, and the gym was not a cheap gym. The gym I worked at was super expensive, a very high-end gym. So it wasn't like they were paying $20 a month. These people were shelling out over $100 a month and never coming to the gym. I think it's because once it's set up as an automatic deduction, people don't look at their expenses. They don't look at what's coming out of their account. They just see the balance and say, this is how much money I have. But if you actually do a budget and you see the things that are coming out on a monthly basis, you become more aware. This is part of the reason that I live on a budget. I can tell you exactly when money's missing out of my account. I notice every transaction that hits my account. So there's a lot of people paying for subscriptions of things they're getting no benefit from. They've signed up for these boxes where you can have delivered, like the bark box. I love my dogs, but I'm not getting them a bark box. If I want to get them a toy, I'll go and buy them a toy. I'm not going to pay a subscription to send me random toys. If you got the money, great. I don't have the money. And this is certainly not videos geared towards people who are rolling in the money. So I'm going to say that look through your credit card statements, look through your bank statements, find the things that you're paying for that you're not even using and cancel them. Do not continue to pay for these things. Or get your butt over to the gym on a daily basis, or at least, 2-3 times a week, and make it worth the membership fee. My next tip is kind of ironic because I am doing a YouTube video, but I'm going to tell you, stop watching YouTube videos that encourage you to buy things. There was a video, I love the station, I still would love to watch it sometimes, but I stopped watching it because it was always about buy this, buy that, the newest item, at this place or this place. Like the newest items at the Target dollar spot or the newest items at the dollar store, because I'm not shopping high end for those kind of things. But I stopped watching those videos because it just encouraged me to keep going out and buying the newest items that came out at the Target dollar spot for Easter, for Christmas, or Thanksgiving. I'm not saying they don't have some good items, because they do, but the more I watch these kind of videos, the more I was encouraged to keep purchasing these items, and I didn't want to do that. I want to purchase the things that I need, but I don't need someone encouraging me constantly to buy the best items on Amazon or the best items at the dollar store or any of those kinds of things. So the more you stay away from that kind of stuff, the less you'll be tempted to go purchase those items. Another tip I'm going to suggest has to do with the price of gas. Now, unfortunately, there's not much we can do about the price of gas currently, but you can certainly, there are little tips that you can read, and I mean, there's tons of them on YouTube and on the internet about not carrying extra weight in your car, combining trips. Combine any trips that you have. I have a little whiteboard on the side of my refrigerator that's magnetic, and I write the things that I need on there. I'm really good at forgetting the items. When I walk into a store, I'll make a list, a mental list, and then I walk in, I can't remember the list. So now what I do is on this magnetic whiteboard, when something runs out, when I need to do an errand, I write it on the whiteboard. Now I have occasionally forgotten to, write those items down onto a list or something, but most of the time I try to take a picture of the whiteboard before I go out, and then I know I have to do those chores, or I make a list, and sometimes I actually decide which order that I'm going to do those things in. But we definitely need to be more mindful about when we're spending our money, and obviously if they're, if you're on your way home from work and you can swing by a store and that's part of an errand that you need to do, then by all means do that. But we need to be really mindful. Another thing is also to use a website like Gas Buddy. A lot of times it compares the prices of gas. It shows you the prices of gas in the area around you. So I'm always looking on Gas Buddy before I go out, because I don't want to drive around trying to find cheap gas. I just want to know what the prices are. So that's a service where like a lot of people report the price of gas when they purchase it, so you can see, oh, this was reported 2 hours ago, 4 hours ago, because the price of gas seems to be changing by the minute. So that is another way of saving money on gas, is just being mindful of the prices at different stations. My next tip might not be very useful for this coming year due to the price of gas and food going up and everything, but normally what I would do is take my pay increase and set it aside. I feel like what most people do is they earn $30,000, they learn to live on $30,000. The next year they earn $32,000, they spend $32,000. The next year they earn $34,000, and so on and so on. The problem with that is that we just keep living a better lifestyle, and we don't set aside any money for savings or for emergencies. And so what I started doing is saying, okay, I lived on $30,000 last year, I can still live on $30,000. So I would take that pay increase, I would calculate what it was, and I would throw that into my savings account. And I continued to do that. Over time, I was able to set up, save up a good amount of money. And I understand for this year, it might be very difficult because food has gone up, gas has gone up, everything has gone up. So it probably is not very possible, but I guess the concept still holds that you don't just keep spending more money because you earn more money. You need to learn to set that money aside. And most people don't think like that. They think, oh, I'm struggling already, so now I got more money, I'll just spend that money. But you were already living on the money that you were earning before. So you can do it again, and then you can take that money and start building yourself a savings account, which in times like this is so nice to have some sense of security, to know that there's some money in the bank for hard times. And God forbid that things get any worse than they already are in the economy, but it certainly is good to have that money. It's good to have that money set aside, and it does give you some peace. My last tip, if you want to call it a tip, is that we all need to stop keeping up with the Joneses. I know it's really hard to look at somebody else and see that they have something and not want the item yourself. I used to actually get really discouraged when I was first paying off my debt. I would see people purchasing things at the stores, and and they seemed happy purchasing those things. And I also wanted to be happy purchasing those things. But I also knew that I didn't have the money. And then realistically looking at my budget, because I was living on a budget, I had a plan for paying off my debt. I couldn't afford those items. And so sometimes it was depressing to go to the store. I used to actually run by Kohl's a lot. So I had 2 kids that were in activities at our church, and I would drop them at the activities, and then I would run over to Kohl's because it wasn't worth coming back all the way home, and then kind of just look around at Kohl's to see if there was any, thing that I could spend money on that was a good price, and would purchase it. But then after I started paying off my debt, I realized that is not something I want to do. The more I walk into Kohl's, the more tempted I am to find something and to purchase something. And it actually became more depressing than anything else, because I would look around going, I only have like this much money that I could spend, or I could take the same money and pay off my debt. And so I decided that I just wasn't going to go to those places anymore. I just stopped doing a lot of things that were depressing to me. Obviously there are things that I had to continue to do. If there was like family events or something, I might need to buy something for that event. But other than that, I really tried to stay away from a lot of these things because they were discouraging. And I decided that I just don't want to be in a situation which makes me feel so bad about my financial situation, because I was trying to better my financial situation, and I could go out and I could have purchased those items at Kohl's or any other store. But I knew that in the end, it wasn't going to help me. It was going to make things worse for me. And as much as just as much as anyone else, I like new things in my house, nicer things in my house. I like to have a pretty house. I like to have nice clothes. All of those things that your average person wants. We can't, unless we're, very, very wealthy, we can't afford those things on a normal basis. We have to live within our means. My goal was to really just start paying off my debt, and then I knew that after I paid off my debt, I wasn't going to be in a situation where I could just go out and buy anything then either, but at least I was no longer carrying the burden of that debt. And I can't tell you how amazing it feels. I remember when I first kept a budget for the first month, followed it religiously. And I used to live every month wondering, will I even have enough money at the end of the month to pay the electric bill? I used to pray, please God, let me make sure I have enough money at the end of the month. I had no plan. I was just spending money. I would purchase things, and I never even thought about doing a plan before the month started. And then when I started following Dave Ramsey, started doing a budget, I realized, wow, I don't even have to worry about, will I have enough money? If I do everything that's on my budget, if I spend $100 on the groceries, and I spend, $50 on this and $20 on that, like everything that's in my budget, I'm guaranteed to have enough money to pay all my bills, because I'm living on that budget. I knew how much money was going to come in. Let's just say, for example, if you knew that $2,000 is coming in, and I was going to live on, let's just say, $1,950. I was only going to have $50 left. That I could take that $50 and then pay it towards my debt. But I knew that I had enough money to pay all my bills that month because I had a plan. I had written it down, and the plan just got better and better. In the beginning, there's a lot of things you miss, but as the months went on, I started budgeting for a lot of things. I budget for, so some people it might seem crazy, but I budget for even the smallest items. Every year, I do maintenance on my lawnmower. I budget for that. I know that I have to buy a filter and a spark plug and oil for my gas lawnmower. I budget for those things. So anything that I know is in the future, I'm going to put it in my budget, because I don't have a lot of extra cash. I'm trying to take all my extra cash and put it into savings, and I don't want to touch that savings. So my goal is to, basically have everything budgeted for so that I know how much money I need that month. I hope you found some of these tips useful, and that you can apply at least one of them to your life, and that they would help you save money and improve your financial future. I would love if you would share some tips with me in the comments below, anything that you do to save money and to reduce your expenses. If you liked my video, please remember to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel and help me out with the YouTube algorithm. And I will see you on the next video. Thank you.